Hi, everybody, and welcome to my favorite day of the entire week because I get to spend it with you. I am Lynette Zang, CEO and founder of Zang Enterprises, and this is about community particularly, which is why I love to do these live, and also sound money on a global basis. And you know, it's so interesting because inflation, you could kind of think of it like a beach ball. And you're at the beach and you're trying to push that beach ball under the water and it just keeps popping up and popping up. And do you think maybe that the central banks are having this challenge with inflation? Because frankly, the harder you push that inflation bubble down, the more and the greater it wants to pop up. Well, that's what we're going to talk about today, because after that blowout jobs report and everything being so hunky-dory, US CPI rises more than forecast, stalling inflation's progress. Here's the reality. They have already taken the purchasing power out of the currency. Therefore, what we're really dealing with is deflation. Their fiat money assets are severely overvalued and they want to go down, which is all about deflation. But here we go. Oh, core CPI advanced. Oh my goodness. An overall metric picked up. This is more about what that looks like. So up here on the top, goods prices climbed the most since May of 2023. They were still raising rates then. And core services costs also advanced. So in both areas, this is month over month, and you can see how that has been rising month over month. That's the third month in a row, and this is year over year. Now, overall, we're up at 3.3%, and really the 2%, that's just an arbitrary target. They just feel that that's low enough inflation that you don't notice, but certainly that you don't ask for higher wages or more money, and you don't complain about the cost going up. In other words, you do not change your behavior, which is the definition of price stability. But real earnings grew 1.5% from a year ago. And that was the most since June of 2023. But wait a minute. Real earnings grew 1.5%, but their version of inflation grew 3.3%. So it's kind of like the harder you push down on that beach ball, you and I, the individual, will never keep pace with inflation because that was the design that was put into the system at the beginning of it. So let's just continue on. Because U.S. consumer sentiment falls. Now look, what did they test? It was Kissinger who said, it is not what's real that matters. It is what is perceived to be real that matters. And so they keep telling us that they have inflation under control, which is a big fat lie. At the same time that inflation and prices are going up, and magically, wow, U.S. consumer sentiment unexpectedly falls on what? The high cost of living. Shocking. I mean, seriously shocking. There's consumer sentiment falling and inflation expectations are rising. These are key for the central bank and the government because it isn't what's real that matters. It is the perception. This is a con game. Every good con game, it needs confidence. And that's what these two things measure, which is why they put them together and why they always look at them. Because again, it's not what is real that matters. It is what is perceived to be real. So while the rate of inflation has cooled over the past year, households remain troubled by high prices that they also see outpacing their income gains in the year ahead, which I find absolutely fascinating because, I mean, Janet Yellen tone deaf. These guys are tone deaf. Why don't they get that we've got inflation under control? How about because they're having trouble feeding their families? How about because they're having trouble paying all of their bills? So that truth, the harder they push down on this, it doesn't work anymore. That inflation beach ball keeps popping up, but it's no day at the beach for you and me. It's no day at the beach for most people that are struggling to figure out how they're going to get to work, how they're going to feed their families, how they're going to get through this. That's what makes coming together in community so vitally important, because we need the help of all of those around us to come together, bring the gifts that they've been given, bring the tools and the experiences and the talents that you have. That's what we need to do on a local basis, because this is all the setup for hyperinflation, which I know I'm unpopular when I say this, but when I'm looking at the data, that's what I'm seeing. In the meantime, can consumers continue to consume, take on more debt, take on more credit? Because the U.S. average FICO score, which is what determines the interest rate that you pay, etc., on your debt, well, it holds steady after the first in a decade fall, because they keep changing the rules and making it easier and easier and easier. And all of these tricks, again, it's not what's true that matters. It's what is perceived to be true. And hey, there are ads that I've seen, and we should pull one, that blatantly says, yeah, we know how to game the credit score system. Just call us. We'll game it for you. Your credit score will go up. But in the meantime, your credit score can be as high as you want to. You still have to take on debt if you're going to maintain your current standard of living with all the costs of everything you do that are also going up. So here is the percentage of population that's 30 days past due in the last year, and that continues to rise. Maybe a little bit slower, but that continues to go up. And it's it's almost 18.25% that have been delinquent on their payments in the last 30 days. And at the same time, and it looks awfully similar, the average credit card balances, which are actually growing faster than the population that is 30 days late, but the average credit card balance is over $7,400 right now. And if you are not making enough of a payment to take away some of your principal, to pay off some of your principal, then that interest, same thing's happening to the government. That interest is now, the excess interest is going into the principal, and you are paying compounded interest on that interest. And once that's where you are, how do you ever get out of that? You don't. You end up declaring bankruptcy. For governments, bankruptcy is hyperinflation. So here are those two key credit metrics that missed. Payment rates and borrower balances continue to increase in April from last October, the most current data. So you want to know how to keep pace with inflation and the CPI? Oh, I don't know. Here is a relative performance chart from 2008, which is when the system died. Make no mistake about it. I've been talking about the reset since then. Excuse me. Excuse me. So, relative performance chart between spot gold, which is a contract that they don't want you to be positioning into physical gold because they can't steal your wealth as easily. And this is between the CPI, so you can see how, according to their data, that has risen, and spot gold. So even in this manipulated gold market, can you see that gold still maintains your ability to purchase and actually does that on a much broader scale? And I've shown you that before with food and with autos and with everything else. It's really very simple. This is the time to get to safety. And frankly, gold is the primary currency metal because it is the only thing not just a metal, but the only thing that actually meets all the criteria to be a good currency. Central banks are taking those things away, like, I don't know. I mean, what a concept, so that you can save money so that whenever you get to use it, you're actually always fairly paid for your labor. What a concept. But why would you make any other choice if you really understood what was happening? So you always want to convert as much of your excess fiat that you earn into physical gold and physical silver. You need to get your sound money strategy in place, and you can go ahead and use the QR code. You can click the link. You can give us a call. Any way that's going to work for you, because it is critically important that you have that in place right now. Actually, when did you need that in place? In 2008, and that's when I personally started working on it. We don't have that much time left. I can't tell you exactly the moment, but what I can tell you is that rapid inflation means that confidence deteriorates even more rapidly. That's why they're trying to slow it down, not eliminate it, because what they really call growth is inflation. So much of that is inflation. You cannot create wealth on debt. You can only create the semblance of wealth on debt. But when you have debt, you have to pay that. And if you're compounding interest like the U.S. government is doing, you're never getting out of debt, but all that debt eats more and more and more of your income, which is why we're seeing people more and more and more delinquencies. But what does our government do? They just go create more debt. That's all. More debt, more money, reducing the value of all of that money that's already out there that you and I have worked for and tried to save to educate our children, to retire, to go on vacation, whatever it is. Don't be fooled. You've got to have a sound money strategy, but you've also got to build local community. Because as I said, we're running out of time. I've been working on this in earnest. I've been working on gold and silver really for a very, very long time. But the rest of the mantra, the food, water, energy, security, barterability, which we know I like silver the best, wealth preservation, gold the best, community and shelter. Please, people, we are running out of time. Create your community. We've got some things coming up that I'm working with Morgan on to show you how to build community in your area. But before that happens, go to your farmer's market, get to know the people that grow your food. Go say hello to your neighbor, because there is strength in numbers. And so if you come together to support each other on a local basis and then also on a global basis, we have to have a sound money strategy. We have to come together globally in order to demand our rights back, because they took them away and we allowed them to do it in 33, and then the world allowed the U.S. to do it in 71. We need to take our rights back. We've seen what's happened with Zimbabwe, and they claim that the currency is backed by gold. Well, that's not true, because it was actually backed by gold. They couldn't do a 43, 44% overnight devaluation. But you couldn't go, as a Zimbabwean, you couldn't go and pull the gold out of the system because you didn't believe them. Heck no. In fact, you didn't even have a bill to preserve your principal. Heck no. And we saw just recently, what is their job? Their job is to lie, and oh my gosh, let's lie some more. So with that, I'm going to say, make sure, let's have this conversation together. That's part of community. So if you haven't done it yet, hit that like button, but let's talk about this, everybody together. So Chris Willis asks, is the team coming to Oz or just Lynette? And I'm thinking that you're thinking Oz is Australia, although it is very magical there, so I could definitely see that. And there's a team of us that are actually coming. Adam will be there, and Jacqueline and I will be there. So and Dale will be there. So there is a little contingency, and Monica will be there. So you're about to meet Monica.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm very excited for her and for her to join us. So yeah, there'll be a little contingency, and I hope that you're going to be there too. It's on November 30th, and it's with As Good as Gold Australia. So if you haven't gotten your tickets yet, it's in Adelaide. Please get your tickets and make sure that I know that you are a viewer, because I'd love to meet you all, and that's my intention, is to meet as many people as possible while I'm there. And Randy Welchill asks, how can we have hyperinflation when the dollar is still the reserve currency? Won't it have to lose that status before the age of hyperinflation can start? P.S. My boys 6, 8, and 10 require all chores to be paid in silver coins. Fake fiat paper money. Wait, paid in silver coins. And I'm hoping you mean instead of fake fiat paper money. I love that, because that's also what I do for my grandchildren when they work for me. I mean, Werner particularly is absolutely in love with silver and gold, and he actually managed to talk me out of a gold coin for $15 in fiat. He's the only one that could do that. But yeah, hyperinflation, all they have to do is what they're already doing is this. And when people recognize that inflation is speeding up, they spend that money faster because they anticipate that things are going to cost more and more and more. So it has nothing to do with the reserve currency status. We actually started losing that around 99. It is why the euro was created, was to take over as the world reserve currency. And as many people think that it's going to be the new BRICS currency that's going to come out and be that. But I'm telling you, in all of these cases, as long as the currency is based upon the debt, or even if it's not, that debt, once you put a component of gold in the new currency, it fixes the debt where it is, and it's not payable. So it has nothing to do with the world reserve currency, which is frankly kind of a joke at this point. And if you go in, actually, okay, we're going to now test whether or not this is going to work, okay?
Yeah, it either crashes and burns or it works. So here we go.
Okay.
Round 3.
So here's Fred. Do we have
You ready?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
And
Okay. Do I have no? Do I have to put it on the
so
PowerPoint?
You have to take
PowerPoint off.
turn down or turn off your PowerPoint.
Oh, I have to turn off
Yep.
my PowerPoint.
Yep.
Okay, okay, I could do that. We are going
Thanks
to
for being
figure out
patient.
how
Yep,
to do
we're figuring
this.
it out.
Darn it. Okay, let's see. Now I have to. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Okay.
You don't know. You should see how many I have PowerPoints I have set up, but there it is. It won't let me open it now. It won't let me open it.
It won't let you open the browser window?
Will not let me open the PowerPoint, but let me see if I can left click it. I mean, come on,
Every
you
time
guys.
we try, we get a little closer.
We are going to figure this out. We are going to figure this out at some day, but maybe not today.
So you exited out of the slideshow, correct?
I did exit out of the slideshow, but it still is not. It won't let me. So it won't let me reopen it.
Okay.
It will not let me reopen it.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's what we have open at the moment, and it's still.
Can
showing
you shut it?
No, I can't.
No,
I
you
can't
can't.
from my end. No, I cannot.
Oh.
No, I can't.
Well, then I guess I'm not going to be. And I set the Fred up and everything. Let me see if I can get into. Now that let me pull up PowerPoint. It won't let me pull up that PowerPoint. Nope. Will not let me pull up that Powerpoint. It lets me pull up others,
Can
but
you do the browser? Can you go in the front of the browser or no?
Go and go on
No,
the
no,
website.
no, 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 no. Don't do it. Okay.
I don't know what you mean.
Like if you go to the Fred website, right, in like Google. or-
Okay, I'm in the Fred website right now.
You're in there now. And
Uh-huh.
Do you have the chart pulled up right now?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Well, I have one of the charts pulled
So
up.
then it should theoretically be grabbing it. It's just not. Yeah, it's just not. And it's saying it shows on our end that the chart is still up.
what if I unplug? I'm sorry, you guys, because your time is really valuable,
Yeah, yeah.
and I don't really want to
Right.
waste this, but I'm going to unplug this because I am so determined to have the ability to do this for you guys, because that's going to make these lives so much better. Now, did that do anything? Let's see.
Let us test it here.
Nope, still won't let me pull it up. But
Okay.
maybe I'm going to take this out again.
Yes, Linda, thank you very much for understanding. It happens to us all the
Thank
time
you.
too.
I'm
And you know what's fun? The
sorry.
best thing about this is me and Arthur are constantly testing this. And it works for us, like when we're not live. And then, of course, we hit live and it's like a crash and burn. Yeah.
Okay, now I just closed that down, so
Okay.
maybe it'll work now.
Okay.
But I had to disconnect it in order to shut that
Right,
PowerPoint
which is
down.
Weird. That shouldn't be
Yeah,
like
that's-
that.
Okay, let's see.
Okay.
Did it work? Is
So
it working?
You have it pulled up?
Well, now it's making me go through. Yes,
Okay.
it is pulled
I'm
up.
gonna
It is
try it.
pulled up.
And it's got a...
no.
Yeah. I figured that's what it would do to us.
Okay, well, okay. Not going to be able to do that this week. Have you sat here in this chair and you guys
Yes,
have
we
done it?
did.
Yes, you
Yes,
did.
we did.
So that's why
Numerous
this
times,
thing
correct.
is-
And I have to tell you, these guys are brilliant.
And you
They're
know what?
really smart.
And you know what? I think you're using a different computer today than the one we've been testing it on, because you usually have that computer out with you when you're doing your research.
Will you want to try
You
it
know?
on the other one?
I mean,
All right.
Not now.
I don't
Not
think
now.
so. No, let's
Okay.
poor
all right.
Randy waiting
I'm just
for his
gonna
answer.
close
I'm sorry,
it and say
Randy.
forget about it for this
so sorry.
time. But I guarantee you, we will try again next week. And they will try it with every laptop in this house because there's a lot of them. And
Yeah.
we will get this dialed
Yeah,
in.
yeah, we're gonna do
but,
it again.
But what I would suggest is you go to the Fred, F-R-E-D website, and you go ahead and put in, and in fact, we can even give you a whole, but actually, all of the strategy specialists have all just a little handful of my favorite links, and if you call and talk to anyone there, they can send that to you. But what you're going to find is that the Federal Reserve had to start buying U.S. Treasury bonds in, I think, the end of 2000. So already we were not attracting enough foreign buyers of our debt. That goes all the way back to 2000. Then it was in 2009, and you didn't hear about it, did you? Nope. Because that's what a third world country has to do when there are not enough buyers of their debt. They have to buy back their own debt. So that was considered a really bad thing up until like 2008, 2009, when magically that became a great thing. Well, it's not true. It's not a great thing. So we've really been losing that status. And there have been a lot of purchases of oil, for example, not in dollars, but hey, even in XRP just recently. But there have been a lot more currencies that have been bypassing the dollar. So no, it does not have to officially lose its status as world reserve currency in order for the hyperinflation to kick in. And what I wanted to show you today, so maybe somebody will ask a question when we get this dialed in, and I'll be able to show you what I'm looking at to help determine that. No, we have already really lost that status. We just haven't admitted that we've lost that status yet, because things change, but they don't really want you to know that those things have changed, right? It's just like I have in here a $20 bill from I think June of 1971, and then one from August or September of 1971, and they look exactly the same. So, I'm growing up, I had no clue. Here's one of them. And here I think is the other one. Which one is this? And maybe you can do a close-up shot. This is 1969. Oh, that's a gold certificate. I'm sorry, I'm taking too much time today. Well, I'll tell you, it's my birthday today, and I'm just kind of struggling a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Here it is. Okay. So this one is 1977, this one's 1969. Can you see the difference between the two of them? So if this is what you were counting on, here's the back. right? They keep things looking as normal as possible so that you do not know that anything has changed, when indeed everything has changed. So no, it is not necessary for us to look at official inflation, right? And good on the silver coins. And if they were working for me, I would pay them in silver too. And Emmanuel B. asks, Lynette, how do you see the economy and the inflation, hyperinflation over a possible Trump presidency? I don't think it matters who gets elected. Both of their policies are inflationary because they have so many promises. Who knows what one of those promises or how many of those promises anybody's going to put through, but it's just about spending, whether it's Trump or it's Harris. It's not really going to matter. The economy is in deep trouble, and we have to go through a hyperinflationary phase in order to shift into the new system. We got to get rid of the debt. We have to.
Well, I think you let it slip, so the entire comment section is saying, happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
So happy birthday.
70 years old today.
Happy birthday to Lynette.
Thank you. And a new do.
Yeah, there's a ton of comments about that too.
Oh, do you like it? Do they like it?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
I'm
A lot
going
of
to
people
play
like it.
more with my hair.
Yep.
So you're going to see lots of different things just for fun. Why not? And Dolores Lundberg asks, how long does the dollar have? Let me see.
There you go.
Okay, here's my magic 8-ball. How long, can you give me an exact date how long the dollar has? Outlook, not so good. The dollar really is dead. And I'll tell you how long it has, as long as most people still have confidence in it. That's how long it has. And I'd say the same thing whether it's the euro or the yuan or the yen or the zig, right? All of this is a con game. And it can last as long as people have confidence in it. So that's why a CPI, inflation picking up noticeably faster, it's a real problem for the Fed. And you only have one way to fight inflation, and that's with deflation. And we saw the real jobs report. Okay, they can make it fluffy and look however they want for a minute, but the reality is the reality, and we see more and more corporations doing massive layoffs. Boeing just announced 10% of their workforce. I mean, I've shown you so much, and you just go in and who's announcing layoffs. Over 100,000 workers have been laid off in the tech industry in a year. I mean, this is not going to stop. And so now they've got to reflate the economy, but they have to do it into an already easy money environment, something that's not been done. I mean, there's so many technical indicators of the hyperinflation. It's ridiculous. So the dollar has as long as most people have confidence in it. For me, I converted into this and into this and into food, water, energy security, barterability, wealth preservation, community, and shelter. Get it done, please. And then it doesn't matter. Then you're going to be shocked when the whole world gives up on the dollar or we go into hyperinflation, because once that becomes really obvious, it's going to happen very quickly. So, just get everything in place and then you're ready for it. And that's the key, is being ready for it. Community, critically important. Sound money strategy, critically important. Get it done.
Oh, Emmanuel says you look 50, by the way. So,
Well,
and then
thank
someone
you.
else said 48. So.
Oh, thank you. That's very, very nice. But don't tell my girls that, because they're going to be 43 this year. So I need to be a little bit older than that. Arson Fire asks, how will the everyday Joe on the street know that we have hyperinflation? Like, what will we see in our everyday lives? What you're going to see are the prices going up 10%, 20%. I mean, I'm talking about in a 24-hour period, right? you're gonna see the prices go up really, really, really rapidly. And I mean, before the age of computers, shopkeepers would be walking behind you raising the prices when you still had to put prices and stickers on the cans. Now they don't have to do that, right? Because everything is computerized. So you take it off of the shelf. And have you noticed? I've noticed in department stores more than anything where the prices are not obvious anymore, right? Well, why? That's because by the time you get to the cash register and they see who you are, they can charge you a different price if you don't know how much it is. And we did a whole video on that. Maybe you can attach a link in there.
Absolutely. I'll attach a link. And yeah, all the fast food places were doing that. I mean, they were doing the surge pricing where basically they were determining their price within the day, on what you were going to pay for the burger.
Yeah,
So.
That's disgusting. Don't go there. Why would you go there? You can't trust them. And what do you think is in your food if you can't trust the pricing? I mean, please. So that's how you'll know. And Kathy Piscatello says, Lynette, thanks for answering our questions. I thought we already lost the status of reserve currency in March, so I'm confused about that. No, we still officially have that status. But do we really have that status? No, and that's just growing more and more. And so I'm confused about that. Obviously, India, Saudi Arabia, and Argentina use it. Well, they do. They can use a currency, and it doesn't have to be the world reserve currency. And these things happen slowly over time. So by the time it becomes obvious, and we're going to see who, because a lot of people think that it's going to be the BRICS new currency that takes over as the world reserve currency, but that isn't what I see. I see it being the IMF's, the International Monetary Fund's SDR. And the reason is, while they're doing something similar to the BRICS in that it'll be their new currency will have a basket of currencies, it's just going to be amongst the BRICS members. But there are, and as many countries that are going there, that's still not every country in the world. Whereas the SDR can include every single country in the world, and all of their members are central bank chiefs and treasury secretaries from almost every single country on the planet. So that to me is more likely to be the world reserve currency, so that they can have this universal currency, which I've done videos on that. They're working on it. It makes sense to me. So they have this big umbrella universal currency, and then that translates easily into the local currencies, whether it's the US dollar or the Japanese yen or whatever it is. Because again, you won't think that anything has changed. I mean, you got the dollar, and hey, it looks the same, so it must be the same. It's the rise of the cryptocurrencies is about the rise of the CBDCs and getting you used to it and getting you comfortable with it and making you think like, well, nothing has changed, when in reality, everything is changing. So I hope, if I haven't, Kathy, would you please let Adam know, because my job is to explain it. And if I don't do my job well, and don't worry about insulting me, because my job is to explain it in a way that you understand it. And if you don't, give me a chance to explain it in another way, and I'll come up with another way to try. And Rebecca Dirks asks, we were in Peru when hyperinflation hit. Thank you for sharing this, Rebecca. You would wake up one morning and the currency announcement would be made to mentally add a certain amount of zeros when making exchanges. What changed? The value of the currency. And much as they wanted you to think that it's your fault for asking for more money, right? I mean, after all, how dare you ask for a raise? It's good that the CEOs and the 1%ers get all of that raise, just not you, the working person on the street. They don't want you to keep pace with inflation. So thank you for sharing that. And whatever else you have, Rebecca, please, let's have this conversation. It's so critically important for people to understand that Doesn't matter. You've got to pay attention to history because it does repeat itself, or it rhymes, or what have you. But nobody is immune. Nobody is immune. The question is, how do you want to walk through this? And I want us all to walk through it as securely and independently as we possibly can. Food, water, energy, security, barterability, wealth preservation, community, and shelter. If we come together, we can say no to those central banks. If you don't, if everything you hold is in their markets and they say jump, you're not going to have any other option. And I hate this statistic, but it's true. On average, 80% of the population, so we're talking, and look at the decimation that's happened in the middle class, right? The middle class goes away. That's the one, that area is where they have the greatest standard of living shift. Because if you're poor and you have nothing and you're already starving, well, there's only so far down that you can go. If you're wealthy and you have the assets and you hold your purchasing power intact, well, guess what? You can expand your wealth base, right? Because what's currently overvalued is going to go to undervaluation. And if what you have holds that purchasing power, you have that opportunity to convert your gold into income producing assets and be better off on the other side of this thing. It's that middle class that, they make you work more and more and more just to attempt to sustain your standard of living. And so you're not thinking about gold or silver or food or water and the whole mantra piece, but we need to. We all need to, because there is strength in numbers. What can I do? I am just one person. I can't do anything. And that part is true. But if 8.4 billion people, that's how many people are supposed to be on this planet. If 8.4 billion people say the same thing, guess what happens if even a small portion of them come together? We now have power. So yeah, one person can't do it. But a whole bunch of us together, our community, we can do this. We can grow this community and make a difference for everybody. And Angela, thank you for noticing. I know it's curly, right? I just couldn't do anything with the other cut. It just kind of went flat. But so now I'm going to play and have some fun with it in my old age. And don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. Even though I'm old, I thank God I'm the Energizer Bunny, thank goodness. I mean, really, thank goodness.
This is a second question from Kathy.
Oh, okay. Not enough room. Oh, do you think BRICS will actually happen? It seemed difficult to coordinate with all these countries and the resistance they get, and that's the whole thing, isn't it? And they need to create, one of the reasons why the U.S. has retained that status for as long as they have is they built the global plumbing of the financial system. Well, the BRICS are now doing that again, and they're doing it for the digital transformation that's taking place. And our system, the U.S. system, SWIFT, they're trying to remain relevant. So, I think the BRICS is making some things happen, but I think that it is more likely to be more regional than global, which is why I think we got a better shot with the SDR and the IMF. And I don't think that that's to our benefit. I think the biggest benefit that we can do is come together and demand a seat at the table, demand to have our voices heard in the new system. We have to do it. We don't have any other choice. And it's not for us, right? It's for our children and our children's children and our children's children's children. Because what they have in mind is a full surveillance economy, and they're going to tell you, they're going to implant crap in your brain if you let them, so that they will actually directly have the ability to manage how you think. And that's, it's amazing. I was just talking to a friend the other day, and I said, all of that sci-fi that we saw in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, it's coming true right now. It's coming true right now. Well, but you can use history to protect yourself from it. That's what I think makes a lot of sense. Angela Barnes asks, what is the difference between I misread that. But I'll answer that question too. Melt price versus spot price for both purchase or sell. So the melt price would be something like that it doesn't have, it's broken, it's dinged, and you're going to take it to a smelter, and they're going to take it out of this form, and they're going to melt it down, and they're going to put it into another form. And so that is typically several dollars in this country, several dollars below spot. And the difference between that and then what they sell it at is their profit. Whereas spot price is a contract price that is supposed to, in theory anyway, represent gold in the ground, unmined, unminted, but they can create as much of that as they want. So spot price is a managed price to keep you away from the physical metal, and melt price is below that, right? Usually by a few bucks. So that's why one of the things that I said that you could do is go to a local antique mall and find out who deals a lot in sterling silver and contact them. And, because if they have stuff that's just broken and dinged and they're not going to be able to put it out to sell it, well, then their market is the smelter. So they will get below spot. So if you go, that is how I got some of this stuff. I got a lot of it at yard sales because it used to be so easy to do. But some of it I just bought from antique dealers that were below that I said, I will pay you spot by weight, right? Because sterling silver is 92.5% pure. And 925 silver is also 92.5% pure. So if you offer them to buy that at spot, they're going to make more than you will at melt. And I really wouldn't give a crap if I needed to just cut this up to buy something. I wouldn't care. So it is another way that you can accumulate. And okay, number one, Savage. I'm loving Lynette's new lavender. It's not lavender, it's gray. Does it look lavender in that light? I didn't put any color in it. This is my normal color. But I'm loving Lynette's new lavender hairdo. Thank you very much. Some people are saying that the dollar will remain the world's reserve currency because no other nation wants to be a debt issuer. And that could be too, but that's also why I think the IMF makes the most sense, because their basket of currencies, they don't have to take on debt to do that. Right? So they can become the absolute lender of last resort, and that's why you may hear that they have the cleanest balance sheets on the books. And I do think that it's more likely for a major organization rather than an individual country to do that. So I agree with you, number one, Savage. And Maggie Smith said, the hair looks great. Beautiful. Thank you, Maggie. 12-pack, thanks for the update at Lynette Zang. Your haircut looks wonderful. Have a great day. And I am. It's my birthday. I'm having a very nice day. Woof, having problems posting. Are feds after me because I always pay my credit card statement off in full? Yes, they are. There was a minute or two. It's really funny. There was a minute or two when I was doing a lot of things on my credit card, right? And I would pay it off like every couple of weeks or something like that. So then I went someplace and I tried to use that credit card. I knew I had absolutely zero balance on there because I just paid it off, and I was, I always did. And my credit card didn't work. When I called them, it's because they didn't like that I did that I was paying it off too frequently. So, yeah, the feds are probably paying attention to what you do because they want you more in debt.
Yeah, I was deemed a credit card gamer which is
A gamer?
Yeah, which is one of the worst statuses to be, because it's essentially you taking advantage of, their intro rates, right? They're going to offer you 0% interest and give you a little statement credit if you spend a certain amount. So I would do that, pay off all the, the balances, so I avoided interest. And of course, I got, they literally called me and said, hey, just so you know, we won't approve you for any more cards because we're not making any money off you.
Yeah, basically, that's it.
We're not making any money off you, so, can't help you.
Yep. So, yep. Okay. And Linda, how do I explain that you are willing to accept fiat for gold and silver? Argument is, why would you accept that if gold and silver are so valuable? Other argument, my boss alarmed when I said fundamental value. Well, fundamental value is going to alarm anybody on Wall Street, because they know what fundamental value is, and so do the central banks. This stuff, the fundamental value, and there's so much history on it, is zero. But the reason why I am willing to accept it is because at Zang Enterprises, we are selling our wholesalers gold and silver. And if you think they understand anything more about it, but it's a business, right? So it's what enables me to do all of this free stuff, and also all the donations and the different things that we do. But I'm not selling you my gold holdings or my personal silver holdings. I'm selling the wholesalers gold and silver because there is a huge market for it. So I would accept the fiat and understand that as quickly as I can. I convert whatever fiat I earn into gold, silver, food, water, energy, security, barterability, wealth preservation, community, and shelter. I support the community and shelter. So it is a means to an end. Just like a farmer, like I have more food that I grow here than certainly I can eat. And I don't sell it, though. I do give it away. But I share it, right? So I would love to be able to, not really. No, I would not really want to own all the gold and silver in the world, because I want my community around me. I just want our entire system to be based on sound money and to be convertible into that sound money, because that's the only way that we can hold their toes to the fire and take back our control, which we need to, absolutely. And I hope that answer, if it didn't, let me know. Always let me know. And Torin Wadehi says, Lynette, why does the price of silver keep going up and then coming down again? Because silver first of all, it's the spot market. It's a contract. They can create as much silver that does not exist. But with both gold and silver, gold is the primary currency metal. Silver is the secondary currency metal. They don't want you to be in something that can protect your purchasing power. And as I've shown you, silver absolutely protects your ability to buy the same goods, the same food from 1913 to today. They don't want you to do that. The whole system is designed to do just the opposite, to rob you of your purchasing power and get you to agree to that. So everything has been turned into a financial instrument that enables the banks and Wall Street to trade and make money. This is not any of it is a true supply and demand market, other than the collectible market, because it doesn't have paper attached to it yet. But your bullion, which is this right here, this also, as well as this, these two straddle two worlds. They straddle the spot contract market, which enables easy and cheap manipulation of the physical market, but it's still used in every single sector of the global market. It's a gift. That's the way I look at it. I've been buying silver since it was like, I think, $4.38 an ounce, right? It will break out. It will come to its cup conclusion. It could happen by the end of this year or sometime next year. I don't know. But ultimately, watching silver, spot silver rise, watching spot gold rise, what you're really looking at there is the flight to safety. But you see it mostly in the physical only market. PCGS 3000, ultra rarities. That's what really tells you what's happening in the gold market and the silver market too, not the spot markets. That's just manipulation. But that's why you see it go up and down. It's a trading vehicle. And Linvis Canvas asks, what happens to government handouts when the dollar crashes? What happens to people that rely on that? Well, as we've just seen in Zimbabwe, they revalued the currency, but they didn't revalue the salaries of the government workers and the government handouts. So really what happens, it means you just buy less and less and less. And by the way, 2025 adjustment for Social Security is 2.5%. But we just saw that year over year official inflation was 3.3%. So salaries went up 1.5%. Social Security is going up 2.5%, but official inflation went up 3.3%. And it's going to get worse now. That beach ball, push it down. It just keeps popping back up. So it's really, this whole system is what's enabled income and wealth inequality. But if you look at productivity, if you look at wages over time, you see where all that excess inflation is going, and it's going to the top. That's the wealth transfer mechanism. That's the way the system is designed. So what happens to people that rely on it? Abject poverty. I'm sorry, but that's why you got to get together in community. And I've had so many people say, well, if they don't get it, too bad for them. And that is definitely not how I feel about it. I feel that it's the obligation of those of us that do get it, that do pay attention, to help those that refuse. Because what we're asking from them is a huge ask. We're asking them to make a paradigm shift and to admit that what they've been taught their entire lives is a big fat lie. And that's hard for a lot of people. So we're going to have to help those people that are relying on that. It's why I planted food on the entire exterior. And I have a corner lot that's pretty substantial. And there's a lot of food that's growing out there. And that's what we have to do. We have to help those that don't get it because they're going to starve. A lot of depopulation happens. And I'm sorry, but it's what happens. And ML asks, why do we follow the gold to silver ratio? Is it for the sake of history? Well, the only reason why I follow the gold to silver ratio is because I get a lot of questions on it. But I've done all of those deep dives into history, and it's very, very wide because, well, think about it. This was equal to this at one point in time, right? 1/20 of an ounce of gold, an ounce of silver. And so that's a 20-to-1 ratio. And historically, we see that over time, same thing with stock markets and things like that, they come back to a certain level. But when you look at what happens during inflation, deflation, hyperinflation particularly, those ratios grow more narrow, but you're thinking of it like a trade. Let me tell you, when you recognize that those are growing more narrow and you've got silver up at, $2,000 an ounce, what are you going to do? Convert it back into this? Has more value as toilet paper, quite honestly. And we see what happens to toilet paper during these kinds of periods. People go crazy over it, right? They can't get it. I've got some really good lamb's tongue up at the bug out location, so I don't have to worry about that anymore. But, I'd say it's just for the sake of history. I'm not going to be trading my gold or my silver for price, for purely for fiat. Now, to convert it into something that I need, yes, right? That's different. So the answer to that would be yes. And Ryan Karis asks, hi Lynette, how will gold be priced if the dollar goes to zero? What would it be based on? Well, as we see over and over and over, it can still be based on this, but the value in terms of dollars when they do that reset, it'll be valued in the US in terms of dollars, just like it's valued in terms of ZIG, or it's valued in terms of yuan, or wherever you are in the world, it will be valued in terms of that new currency. So that's how they do it. The dollar going to zero really makes it look like it's going straight up because if it's hyperinflating away. But don't put any value in those numbers. It's just nominal. Fundamental value, I want to go back to that because I don't even think I really addressed that too much. Did I? I don't think so. But I can't give you a whole lot of guarantees. I can guarantee that I will show up and do the work. That's what I can do. But I can tell you this, at some point, all assets, all instruments go to their true fundamental value, and that is the value for which that asset or instrument was created. The single most important, it may have several jobs, but the single most important as to why that was created. And with gold as being the primary currency metal, they needed a tool. That's what money is about. They needed a tool that enabled a society to specialize. So you can have a baker, you can have a banker, you can have a farmer, right? People focusing and doing all different jobs. And then since gold is a labor and savings-based currency, what you're really doing is trading your labor for someone else's labor. That's fair. And then depending upon the value of that labor, that's going to be tweaked a little bit. So the most important function was to hold its purchasing power over time. And certainly our founding fathers knew what inflation and how inflation has destroyed the lives and the purchasing power of past currencies in this country as well. We think we're immune. We're not immune. This was the very first time in history where central bankers had no charter. In other words, prior to 1913, average life of a central bank was between 15 and 20 years because governments knew that central bankers would end up inflating away the value of the currency. So the Federal Reserve was the first central bank, and at first it had a 20-year charter. Came out in 1913, that would have put it at 1933. How interesting is that, right? So I think it was 1927. I'd have to go back and look, so I could be off by a yearish. But 1927, I believe, is when they gave them an unlimited charter. Boom. First time anybody did that. Ron Paul said it's no coincidence that the era of perpetual war coincides with the era of perpetual central banking, because central bankers create money and governments use war to justify all of the inflation when it's really all of their spending and that taking over of control. So the most important function of money is to hold its purchasing power value over time. This money and this system is created from debt. So you take all the debt that exists as a proxy for money, divide it by all the gold that exists in the ground, out of the ground. The Department of the Interior runs that report on an annual basis so we can account for it, and that gives you the true fundamental value of an ounce of gold. Now, when they do those overnight resets, what we don't know is it going to be on a one-to-one basis? If it was, then we'd be above 40 grand right now if they were to do that overnight reset today. But chances are, like back in 33, had they done it on a one-to-one basis for the level of debt that they grew, then they would have had to have done that overnight revaluation from $20 to 40, I think it was 45 when I did the calculations on what it would have had to have been based on the level of debt that was grown at that point. And those that were empowered did not feel that the public could deal with that big of a devaluation, so they only revalued it to $35. The next revaluation came in 1971 when they revalued it from $35 to $42.22. Still, not even nearly enough. So what we don't know is what that ratio is going to be. It could be 1-to-1, it could be 10-to-1, it could be whatever it's going to be. Nor do we know what that number is going to be, because the more debt they grow, the higher that number goes. So it's just the way that it works. And let's see.
Real quickly, I just want to say Ryan said thank you very much for the answer. It was good. And also, he just bought his first pre-33 coin.
Yay! Thank you so much. I'm really happy to hear that. Stay tuned. Ask me lots more questions. And Kathy Piscatello asks, Lynette, I'm going to ask you a controversial issue. You know, a commentator is adamant that Type 1 Silver Eagles do not have a tracking in them. I bought into that and wondering what your opinion is. You know, as far as I know, in the silver that they're creating at the mint today, there is no tracking vehicle in there. Type 1 Silver Eagles, I'll be honest with you, I'm not really sure what you're talking about. Can you tell me a little bit more about it? I'll look out for it, but it sounds like it's a gimmick to me. Just like when they do the first press and they charge you a premium for you to get it. So they have these dies, right? And I have a feeling this is what we're talking about here. But we have these dies for the coins. It's what makes this coin, right? And the first time, or the first number of times that they go down, the cut is cleaner, right? Because the die is new. And then the more they use it, then some of those edges are going to get rounder and rounder and rounder. So what some brilliant marketer chose to do was to have those graded as a first strike, and then they charge a premium for that. But when you go to resell that to the wholesalers don't pay that premium. So I have a feeling that that could be one of those kinds of gimmicks. And so don't believe it. Don't believe it. Don't buy into it. Don't pay a premium, because silver is your barterable anyway. So, I have constitutional silver. This is new silver. This is junk silver. I have it in lots and lots and lots of form. I do not have any Type 1 Silver Eagles. I will look at that, but my bet is these things were not intended to ever be in circulation, that it's Type 1 Silver Eagles. I'll look at that. I'm not familiar with them.
And Lynette, there's a couple comments saying something about, and maybe you've heard of this or not. This is from Linvis. I thought newer Silver Eagles had notches in coins, so maybe that's what they're doing, or that's the idea, is that they're notching the coins to make them more trackable or identifiable.
Well, they've been talking about doing different things to be able to track them. I'm not certain that is actually happening yet. I can go pull an American Eagle. This happens to be a Canadian
maple
leaf.
And yeah, Nancy's saying, I think we are talking about is the missing reed in Type 2 Eagles. Interesting.
I'll look more into that.
Yeah.
Tracking new stuff.
Yeah.
I have it written down as well, so
okay.
We'll definitely take a look at that.
I'll get back to you. And Technic at Home. Hi, Lynette. We always hear about bail-in. Is this only possible for the non-invested money in the bank, or as well for money invested in stocks, especially with smart brokers? Smart brokers? Not sure what you mean by that. But the bail-in is about the money, the official bail-in is about the money that you have in the banks. And, when they tested it, They tested it with and without the deposit insurance scheme, but it really is just about the money that you have in the banks. In the stock market, that's not FDIC insured anyway. It's SIPC insured, but it's easier for them to take your money in the stock markets just by making the price implode, by stopping all of the stock buybacks and the plunge protection team and all the other machinations to make you think that things are going up when they're really not. So,
Yeah, that was the last question. I actually had another question, and Sue asked it as well. You know the coins that are like colored in? Does those do those have any other value other than okay? Figured I'd ask.
Commems, things like that.
Yeah, because they're not being colored in with more precious metals; they're being colored in with paint, and that I see.
Probably
I see.
some kind of enameling or
Got
something
it.
like that,
Got
so it lasts. But no, that's not. Just stick with the tried and true. I mean, that just makes life so much easier. Well, thank you all for joining me today for my birthday. It was a great party, and I look forward to doing it in person. So if you guys are in Phoenix or you're coming to Phoenix, you let us know. We've got a whole bunch of things that we've got in store. We're all working our little tushies off. Mine's not so little, but whatever it is. Anyway. Until next we meet, this is a great community, and I'm so grateful to all of you and so happy to be part of it, because I know 100% together we can make a positive difference for the whole world. And until next we meet, please be safe out there. Bye-bye.